Hello, welcome everybody. We are in episode 3 of Talks with My Latinx Therapist. My name is Dulce Encinas. I am the host and the licensed social worker here in Arizona. I'm also the owner of Kindness Therapy. And today we are going to talk about family. I am with my co-host, Ben, the creator.
Yo.
And do you want to introduce the topic?
All right. Today, the thing that I want to talk about was like a couple days ago, we had a conversation and we were talking about the podcast and we're going over some reels that I felt that I think they're going to pop off and we're going to hit another million views again. But you use this term and what was it called? Todos, coludos and something rabos. And I was like, I'm a no sabo kid. What's funny is like that. A couple episodes ago and a couple reels ago, there's couple people that were calling you whitewash and everything. I don't consider myself whitewash or anything like that, but I am considered a no sabo kid. So with that being said, what was that? What was the actual
the saying?
The saying.
Okay, so I am proudly a paisa, which means I was born and raised in Mexico. And so I have a lot of sayings because a lot of the communication that we do is through sayings.
Yeah.
And one of the sayings is todos, coludos, todos, rabones, which the translation would be we all have tails, we all have short tails. I think that would be the translation.
Mm-hmm.
Rabo is like the tail of a bunny or a pig, how they're little. But coludos, it means that you have a really long tail, like the dog's tail, right? So the saying is saying everybody has tails, everybody has a rabo, like a tiny one. And it refers to family. It refers to if one does it, all of them have to do it, right? It also can apply to classrooms and things like that, where if one messes up, everybody else messes up. And we're talking about family and I'm like, oh, sí, todos coludos, todos rabones. And you're like, wait, what is that? So it's usually used if one has the consequence, everybody else has to have the consequence.
It's almost like when you were in school and someone did something and then there was like, oh, if nobody speaks up, then all of you guys are in trouble.
Exactly.
Like everybody gets attention or you guys don't go to recess. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Kind of?
Yep.
Cool.
That's the same idea. And the reason why I think it was so appropriate because we were talking about family. We're talking about the kids and listening and what did that look like. And we were also discussing how in our own Latino culture, there is a lot of family things that stop you from being safe and comfortable and whatnot. And so
In what sense?
Yeah, in all senses. I think that a prime example of it is achievement, right? You'll tell your mom or your cousin or something in confidentiality, and then they turn around and tell the comadre or the vecino or the tia. And so I know that when we were talking the other day, I said, I really would like to address the topic because it's very much unfair. I think a lot of the whole todos coludos, todos rabones saying it's unfair. Just because one person doesn't mean everybody needs the same consequence. And I think we do that a lot in our family setting. We do that a lot in other settings within the Latino community. And I really wanted to talk about how it affects our family dynamics and how we look at things different.
I think I'm just getting flashbacks of situations like that and going back to the whole thing with that when you tell somebody and then I'm thinking of a TikTok where I was like, oh, if I tell this person, then I'm gonna go and tell my girlfriend because my fiance, every time I hear something, I'm always talking to her and I tell her everything that's happening. But obviously it's between us, but I think you could apply that in the family dynamic, the culture, and it's even worse there because it's your family.
It's an assumption, right?
Yeah.
If I tell my mom something personal, I already know my tia's gonna know because my tia is my mom's confidant or whatever. And so I think that as much as it's helpful for us to keep everything in family, I think it's also very toxic in the sense that then you don't trust in telling your mom anything because then she's gonna tell everything to your tia, right? Or I'm thinking of examples in my head where the guy is actually the one that is telling all the family gossip to the tias and the tios, right? And you'll have teenager tell mom something and then mom tells husband and husband's, oh, en la pisteada con el compadre. That's when we started talking about it. Now all the compadres know, right? And so as much as I love that in our culture we can support each other, our familial support is top notch, right? If there is a problem, we talk about it as a family. It stays within the family. But the issue with that is when we're not respecting each other's boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Or confidentiality. If you're telling me something que es un secreto, why am I turning around and telling the comadre or the other people, right? Oh, because we're all keeping it within family. Yeah, but that doesn't take away the fact that they're gossiping now about me. And now the entire family knows that, I don't know, I failed math class. I don't know,
Yeah.
right? Like, as much, again, I think that family is so important in our culture and it can be so helpful to get support. It can also be detrimental.
Yeah, it makes me think about how my approach with my oldest is right now. He's 14, about to be 15, going into high school. And I'm working really hard to have a open dialogue with him overall. Because I want to change things. Like I want him to trust me. I want him to for him to be able to tell me about like anything. It could be any problems at school. Maybe he's dealing with bullies or I don't know. And I just want him to be able to
Trust you.
trust me. Actually, that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, I totally get that. I think it's really important. But also too, there's some stuff that I want to make sure that like when he comes to me that he feels like, you know what, I could trust my dad.
I think one of the cultural pieces of what you're saying is that we assume that respect just comes with family. Como yo soy tu papá, me respetas. Punto. Right? And it's very like strong.
Yeah.
Women do it too. It's not just a male thing. I'm gonna open another kind of worms of machismo.
You're gonna go viral again.
I know they say that, but women do it too. Women say, "No, yo soy tu mamá y me respetas," and what we do is we start intimidating our children, and instead of opening the door for trust and respect and love, we're moving it towards fear. And so, no, I'm not going to tell my mom because then she's going to get mad and she's going to beat my butt, right? I think within the family, like respect is not so much earned, it's assumed in Latino family. Like just because you're an adult, now all of a sudden your kids are supposed to respect you. Yeah. Not necessarily. Sometimes, if you guys think about it, like now as adults, if you're listening, you're over the age of, I don't know, 30, 40, you're at the point where you're like looking at your parents and you're like, oh, my mom said it was not right. I'm going to throw a very like shady belief in Latino culture of if you wear tampons, you're going to lose your virginity. Now you're like older and you're like, that's not how it works. Right? But those are the kind of myths that we hear. And now that you're older, you're like, dang, like they taught me to not question my mom's and my dad's authority. They taught me to just respect it and it is what it is. And I grew up like that too. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I want my daughter to question my authority enough to where I'm having open and honest conversations with her. Because then,
all right, elaborate because you lost me. Like
I lost you.
Yeah.
If I tell my daughter, hey, so just so you guys know, my daughter's name is Estrella. So when I say Estrella, that's who I'm referring to. If I tell her, Estrella, the color is red on this, and she says, why? I'm like, it's red because the door was painted red. And then she says, why don't we paint it blue? And I don't know the answer. I have to take a step back and be like, I'm not really sure why we didn't paint it blue. That's actually a really good question. I think the way that our Latino family has raised us is that because you're an adult, you're supposed to know all the answers.
True.
And if you ask me why it's blue again, I'm gonna beat your head. And so then we don't really open the door for children or for young adults or teenagers to question things. We just teach them to follow and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm inviting everybody in our audience to open the door for children to question things. Because then you're like fueling them to think of entrepreneurship and things. Why do we have to do it like that? Maybe we can do it like this. I invented this machine that makes it this way. Or having those conversations.
I'm like, because like right now I'm feeling like a little triggered. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
Like to a certain extent, because I'm thinking of like my personal experience with my son, and we're going through this right now. And there was a situation where I did overreact, and I can't remember what it was, and like he mentioned, "Oh, I didn't want to tell you because I knew you were gonna get mad." Because I did respond like that a couple years ago. I did have I was really harsh with my parenting, but I think I don't know if again it might go back to like the culture believes and all this stuff. And I do remember something along the lines of me telling him, don't question me. But I'm working on that now, where it's like, all right, I'm going to hear you out before I get mad. Then I'll give you an opportunity to explain yourself, but I'm not guaranteeing I'm not going to get mad. But overall, I do notice that ever since I did try that approach, him and I were like way closer. It's not perfect, but we're definitely in a better situation overall. Because like when I was young, I love him. He's my world, and I tell people to take every second and appreciate it being with your kids.
Yes.
Because his mom and I, we split up when we were like when she was like a couple months pregnant. And when I was younger, I didn't really take full advantage of him being little. And so he's still young. And the last couple years, like we build a lot of, like we've been able to build a lot of memories. But I definitely, I'm self-aware that like shit, it's like one of those, again, I love TikTok, and I'm gonna shout out to TikTok because that's where we went viral. But overall, there's like those TikTok videos where it's like it's like a little girl and then like you turn around and they grow up, and that's literally what's happening.
Yeah.
And I never understood that, like growing up, people telling me, oh, make sure that you enjoy your childhood, don't be in a hurry to grow up. But also too, there is situations, and I'm dealing that with my little one, is we're going through, he's like hyper, and then he's like wild jumping on us. And then there's times where we're like, damn dude, like I'm over this. But then you're like, and I catch myself, you know what, it's okay. But yeah, anyways, I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked.
That's
but
okay.
That's my, I guess I'm borderline ADD too. But yeah, like overall, going back to the whole thing, is ever since then, he has been open up. Like there's times where I tell him like, hey, do you want something to drink? And we'll go, and like I'm not drinking right now because I'm doing the 75 hard challenge, but like I'll go get a beer, and he'll have some juice, some snacks, and we'll just be in the backyard, and just like I'll be drinking a beer, he's drinking his juice, and we're just talking about everything, like my first kiss and all this stuff. And he starts telling me about, his personal stuff. I'm not gonna put him on blast because ironically this is what we're like trying not to do. But like he's opened up, like I that's safe. Alexander, because he follows me on TikTok, and he watches my stuff consistently. So like I definitely agree. Like I think there's got to be some kind of balance.
And I think you're earning his respect. And I think that's when people get triggered, because when I say things like earn your kids' respect, they're like, what the heck does that even
pay
mean?
the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my first thing, honestly.
Yes. And I honestly welcome everybody in the comment section to have those reactions, because those are the reactions that brings us awareness, right? If it pisses you off, then that means there's something about it that you may or may not agree with, or that you want to fight for, right?
Yeah. I'll fight you.
So it's okay.
I'm just kidding.
Cash me outside, right? Hashtag cash me outside. But you're earning his respect because you're telling him like, you know what? When I had my first kiss, I was really nervous and I felt like this. So now he's looking at you not as like this closed off dad that thinks that knows everything and is better than me, but more as like this human dad that can share these experiences, that knows more than me. And that sounds so interesting. And I want to do it too. Like it gives me permission to be human because my dad is human. Yeah. Right? Like you have these open and honest conversations with your kids, and you say, baby, when I was 12, I was a mess. I didn't know what was going on. I had this, I had that. I was so scared. And your kids will look at you and be like, wow, like my mom really did go through that. And what did you do? Because I feel the same. And now they're looking up to you with respect because you're showing them that this experience, right? Versus, oh, I know everything and they are never going to make me feel any kind of way. Tengo que ser fuerte y no decir, y porque yo digo que sí. I think a lot of times it backfires when a kid hears, porque yo dije. It like usually you'll get like a bigger tantrum than saying, look, if you get Cheetos right now, right, at the store, and that takes like a higher level of awareness as parents, that means you have to regulate too. Like you can't throw a tantrum in front of your kid and then expect your kid to not have a tantrum. I was listening to a therapist that I follow on TikTok, and she was saying that she tells her kids like, the kids would be like, give me this, give me that. And she'd be like, how do you ask nicely? The kids are like, can you please give me this and that? And then later on, she was like, come and give me that for your hair. And the little girl's, Mom, how do you ask nicely? And so, like, we are the ones that show the examples of the behavior. So if you're at the store, your kid is overwhelmed, there's a lot of noise, there's things happening, you're overwhelmed because you're still halfway through the list. You're like, know that you have to pay. You're not sure. Now it's like $400 in the cart rather than two. And your kid is like, Dad, can I have the hot Cheetos? Can I have the hot Cheetos? Can I have the hot Cheetos? You turn around and you're like, stop asking for the hot Cheetos. But I expect you to regulate. That makes no sense.
No, I get it because I done that yesterday. No, not yesterday, but no, with my little one. Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah, and so then it's you learning how to like, whew, I gotta chill out. Look, baby, I'm overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed. If you get the Cheetos right now, we're not gonna have lunch. I want you to eat healthy. And if we can't handle it right now, we're gonna go back to the car. And I say this comfortably, like I've definitely picked up Estrella, threw her over my shoulder when she was 4, 3, 4, 5, even 6 sometimes, and just walked my little butt to the car. And I was like, when you're ready to go back into the store, we're gonna go back. And this is where the Latino piece kicks in, right? Because as I was walking with her, I literally left the cart full of groceries, grabbed her, threw her over my shoulder. I'm a single mom. I've been a single mom since forever. And I'm like walking with her como si fuera costal de papas, right? Outside of the store. In a Latino store, I've had people in the store be like, ve, dale unas buenas nalgadas y se le quita. Ve haciendo ese berrinche tan grande que está, right? Look at her. She's so grown and throwing that tantrum. And I don't think that it's specifically, like, I know that in American culture it happens as well, where people are expected to spank their kids. But I think in Latino culture, you don't have kids throwing tantrums, period. Like, you just, con la mirada de tu mamá y hacías, right? Like,
yeah, sure.
but then you might be able to control your kids at a young age, but then when they turn into like teenagers and they start questioning things, then that's when you get the pushback. And I think it's a lot harder than when they're little. Because when they're little, you can teach them, I'm trying to keep you safe. I'm trying to show you things different, right? No va a ser todos coludos, todos rabones. Luisito se portó mal. María no se portó mal. So María no la va a llevar por Luisito. I'm going to try to be fair. I'm going to try to do things different.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how definitely the dynamic has changed with my oldest overall. Go approaching this like differently. I think we rarely like bump heads. He's really respectful, and he's just almost like he knows what to do, and it goes back to how we respond. So I'm always trying to do everything in my power to be relaxed and just not become overwhelmed. Because when I feel like when we go through a lot of stress, like what is it, the word I'm trying to think of? It's the, what is it, like when you're the victims, they unintentionally become victims of like your stress, like you take it on like on them.
Like lashing out?
There we go, lashing out. There we go. You start lashing out on them when you're overwhelmed. It's really unfair. Like it's not their fault that you're dealing with financial burdens or whatever, or mental breakdowns. Like, it's really unfair. So like I really agree with you with this whole regulating.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many times we know that, and again, going back to culture, because I definitely want to connect the dots for the audience. Like, how many times did we see our mom or our grandma pissed off because of something that had nothing to do with us, but we knew not to approach them because they were going to lash out on us. And then it would like finding things to lash out on us.
Oh, and then there's that whole thing where it's like, what's your grandma? Like, deal with it.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Or es tu tío, so ni modo.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't matter that he gets drunk in the house and makes a fool of himself and breaks all of our stuff. Es tu tío, aguantas. And it's, again, that's not fair. What the point of this is to bring awareness to that and figure out, do I want to continue with this? Do I want to put a stop to it? Is this toxic or is this helpful? Just because it's my grandma or just because it's my mom doesn't mean that everything they're saying is right. And if you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a grandma, you're listening to us, you're like, no, but I know I'm right. Then explain it. If you're right, explain to me why it's right.
Yeah, and it the no, I'm just man, I like this is a have a lot of things on my mind going because every time I talk to you, I just start thinking about like my situations that I gone in the past and all of this what I'm going through with my oldest. It's all new, like that I've been implementing the last year and a half, 2 years, like really aggressively and well, not aggressively, intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just thinking about things that I did 10 years ago, like where I was like really like I would everything that you just described, like, even though it was a joke, like I did it. Like it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in the end, it goes back to it wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault that I couldn't handle those stressful situations and man, it's so wild. You got me thinking today on this episode. I'm sorry if I'm a
Well,
little off.
not apologize.
Yeah,
I think that's the whole point. Like
yeah,
that as our listeners are tuning in, that they're able to be like, wow, yeah, I love that you're having that response because it's opening the door for other people who are listening to have the same response as
yeah,
you. Rather than like being defensive and be like, no, F you, Dulce, I don't agree with you.
yeah.
And
Well,
I
and
defend it.
yeah, and then it's the cool thing about this, like, it's the fact that like that's the name of the show. It's Talks with My Latinx Therapist because I did it like earlier. I did feel a little triggered. It's weird. I'm like, I think, but you got me thinking. I think overall for us too, I believe that when there's something going on within yourself, like you have to be real with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
start thinking about it. And I think that's the reason I'm a pretty smooth talker and I can respond pretty quick. But this episode's a little different, but I'm okay with it.
Good,
I'm learning.
good. I like it. I think the more that I can get reactions, the better, because then
Yeah,
that means I'm bringing awareness. And if something sticks, I did my job,
yeah,
right? And I think parenting is definitely a touchy subject, and we can have another episode depending on what people say,
yeah.
and we can respond or give more answers. I think it goes hand in hand with the idea of tough parenting. But how do you switch it up? How do you make it work? I'm still a Mexican mom. Like,
Hmm.
todavía grito, like, estrella del otro lado de la, la casa. Because that's part of who I am. But I think I've definitely done changes into how I earn my respect with her. And consequences are very different, right? When I don't feel like I'm abusing my power,
Hmm.
I'm trying to be fair. And that also brings a lot of responsibility on my end because sometimes I'm like, love, I'm a single mom. You and I are a team. I tell her that. We have these
Hmm.
conversations all the time. I'm like, I can't keep this house clean by myself. You need to help me. When we get home, you're going to do this and this. I'm going to do this and that. And then when we're done, we're going to take a break to rest. And then you can get on your tablet. "Oh, I don't want to do it." Then you don't get your tablet. Plain and simple. That's the consequence, right? I don't have to beat her. I don't have to call her denigrating names, anything like that. I can just be like, you just don't get to have something that you want to have. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Right. But I think it's been something that I've been working on since she was really young. At this point, she knows that she won't get the tablet and she won't go to the park that we said we were going to go to in November, right?
Yeah.
These are long term consequences, but the more that you practice it, the easier it gets. And it doesn't mean stopping yourself from giving consequences or saying what you need to say. And if I'm overwhelmed, I say I'm overwhelmed. I need a break. You guys need to step away from me for 20 minutes and give mommy a break. I'm going to go to my room, lock myself, listen to some music, take a little nap, and then I can come back. But that also means that I have to be aware of my own emotions and where I'm at so that then I can show up in a good, authentic, positive way to my child. I only have one.
No, I think overall, like the going back to the whole the follow throughs when you're punishing them or like in taking away their stuff, I feel like it's really important because then what do you think about that? Like when you say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," and then parents don't do it. I'm going to take this away, and then backfires.
So you vote for a politician. Okay. Listen,
Okay.
vote for a politician. Politician wins. They promised you they were going to change policy X, Y, and Z. They do it and they never change it. What do you feel towards that politician?
He's not. He doesn't follow through. He's like,
Yeah.
push the limits.
Yeah. He's not a man of my word. He's not
Yeah.
getting my freaking vote again. I don't believe him. He can go jump off a cliff. I don't care. That same emotion our kids feel. We're their politicians. We're the presidents of the house.
That makes sense.
So a politician doesn't just show up and say, vote for me or I'm going to beat you, right? They have to earn that respect.
Dictators.
Exactly.
That president from that. No, actually, he followed through. I was going to think of El Salvador, like he's cleaning up over there. But it's a whole different thing. Sorry.
But yeah, dictatorship, right?
Yeah.
People are afraid. That's what we're doing in our homes. Do you want a dictatorship kind of house or do you want a diplomatic one where citizens have a voice? You can change things. What?
I love that. You got me thinking.
Good.
This episode was different.
Good. So I welcome you to add comments, questions, concerns, DM us. Last episode had a good turnout. We have some questions. So our next episode, we're going to answer it. And follow us on social media. You can hit up Ben. You can hit me up. Send us some questions. And then we'll talk about it. Hopefully this episode triggers people. And then you guys can have more.
Yeah, we love the engagement and the people going back and forth. It's like it's almost divided, but you know what? Like some of the people that are commenting on there because of part 2 of one of the past reels that we posted, they actually started like following me. So that gave a little pushback, but then when we broke down what was it, the machismo deal stuff, and the first video was like we touched on more Marinismo, and then the other was like, all right, cool. And I saw, give us an opportunity.
Yeah.
We'll put a pin
point
on that.
Here is to get some awareness and some reactions and go from there.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys for watching and subscribe.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Please note this is not a replacement for therapy. Professional help is always available. In case of a mental health emergency, the number is 988. Make sure to follow, subscribe, and comment. Until next time.